Hello guys, today we will learn how to calculate the exponential using the power series. So exponential to the power of x using the power series equals this. So this formula is the power series to find the exponential to the power of any number. So x, which is the power of the exponential itself, to the power of k, which is the interval between 0 and infinity, over k factorial. And this is the application of the formula. So here in the command window, when you say now by hand, we write e like this. So exponential, it's e to the power of 1 or e squared. So e, which is e to the power of 1, click enter. MATLAB will give you an error. What do you mean by e? It's an undefined function or unrecognized function. Or e to the power of 2, so like e squared. It's also an unrecognized function. What do you mean by e? So in MATLAB, there is a function that's already defined called exp to the power of x. So exponential to the power of any number equals the answer. So exponential to the power of 2, as example, will give you this, or exponential to the power of 1 will give you this. So exponential to the power of 1 equals 2.78 approximately, which is the most popular value of e, of the exponential function. Now let's calculate this using the series or the power series. Now open a new script. The first step to find this formula is to write it. So just say like x to the power of k over k factorial. Now in MATLAB there is nothing called k exclamation mark, k factorial. What do you mean by exclamation mark? What do you mean by factorial? So go to the command window. Here in the command window, just clc k factorial. What do you mean by k factorial? It's an invalid use of operator. So MATLAB is telling you that, did you mean factorial of k? Yeah, I did mean factorial of k. So factorial of 4 is 24, and factorial of 3, as example, is 6. And the same thing with the other numbers. So our exponential, like this, as example, equals the x to the power of k over the factorial of k. So we defined the main formula. So it's like this: k, x to the power of k over k factorial. Now, how can we define the summation operation? Here we should use for loop. So our interval is from 0 to infinity. So here we say for our interval is k equals from 0 to infinity. I will not say it's from 0 to infinity. Let's say it's from 0 to 10 as example. Now, MATLAB will ask me to define x. What is x? What is k? What is expo? So expo is exponential equals x, which is the power of the exponential itself. Like here, x is the power of the exponential itself. So here, when we define k, k equals the interval, and x, what is x? X is the power of the exponential itself. So if it's 5, if it's 1, let's say that x equals 1 as example. X equals 1. Let's find e to the power of 1. What is expo? So now we're trying to find. Now this operation is summation, and as you all know that the initial value of the summation operation is 0. So expo initial equals 0. So it will be like this. Now close your operation. This is your main operation, and to make it and to complete the series, we should say expo initial plus the main operation. Just close for loop and ask MATLAB to display expo. So what is expo? Just run the code as expo save it. Yeah, now let's say what MATLAB, yeah, MATLAB print the value of e to the power of 1. So what if the value is unknown and I want the user to give me the value? So x is an input, so the power is unknown, and I'm asking the user to enter the power. So the power is unknown, so I will ask the user to enter the power. So enter the power of the exponential. So x equals what? What is x? You're asking the user to enter x, which is the power of the exponential. So run the code. Yeah, MATLAB is asking the user to enter the power of the exponential. So x equals 2 as example, your answer is this. When x equals 1, your answer is this. When x equals 5 as example, your answer is this. Now, what if the factorial is an undefined function or undefined function in MATLAB? So you should create a function that calculates the factorial of a number or of any number. You just go create a function that calculates the factorial of any number. So how to create the factorial of any number? As you all know that the factorial of any number like this. 4 factorial equals 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 equals 24. Now this is the factorial 4. So the factorial 4 means all the number between 1 and 4 multiplied by each other. 4, 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 and equals 4. And the same thing with the other numbers. So I will tell MATLAB that I'm trying to define a function. So function. Now I'm telling MATLAB that I'm trying to define a function. So function equals, so what is your function? Now give a name to your function, just name your function. Let's say, for example, y equals, now you want to find the factorial of any number. Let's say that it's like this, factorial, okay, like this, of any number x, okay, like this. Now this y, or this factorial, this function will do this. We'll do this operation that we were writing right now. So for I equals from what? From 1 to n that you will enter, or the user will enter. So n is a number that the user will enter. So what is the number that you want to find the factorial of it? But if you write n as this, MATLAB will give you an error. Why? Because this is a function. So we don't run a function, we call a function. So for I equals from 1 to what? To x, which is this. So the factorial of a number equals 1, 2, 3, 4. So the interval between 1 and this number. So all the numbers multiply by each other. So we will say like this. So just define your initial value. It's a multiplication. So our initial value is 1. So x equals 1. Or facto equals 1. Now my facto equals facto initial, which is 1, multiplied by each number of I. Just end it. So what is this? All of this operation will give me facto. So my function will equals facto. So y, which is my function, will equals facto, which is the factorial of any number. Just end it. Now here in the command, now let's save the function. Save as factorial. Okay, save it. Just let's call the function. And as I mentioned before, please do not forget it. We do not run a function, we call a function. So let's call this function here in the command window. So our function is facto, or what is it? Yeah, it is factorial. It's like this. Factorial of 2 as example is 2, and factorial of 4 as example is 24, and factorial of 6, as example, is 720. Now, this function, let me say that it's not exist in MATLAB. So we define a function, and now let's call it here in this script. So our function was like this, factorial, yeah, MATLAB of k. So this will happen. Just run the code. Enter x. What's the power of the exponential? It's 1 as example. Yeah, MATLAB just did it. So it's very important example to understand how does for loop works. If you understand this example, I guarantee you that you will be able to solve any problem that related to for loop. See you guys in the next video.